Okay, colleagues, I have confirmed that the slides are, sorry, you can see my screen and that you are able to see my slides, and I'm going to start in 1 minute in counting, okay, for the second session on leases. Okay, colleagues, it is imperative that we go through the theory, but before I start exactly at 10 o'clock, we will quickly discuss the house rules for the session as I did last night. Thank you. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for Leases Part 2, where we will be discussing Leases Part 2, financial leases. Just quickly, our contact details, the current lecturers on our module. Our module leader is Alfred Baloy, his contact details and his email address, and our secondary lecturers, Andre and Frank, and our dedicated mailbox email address. Please, colleagues, please send all your technical queries concerning the study material, questions, whatever you need to ask in regards to any struggles that you have or problems that you have to the dedicated mailbox, as there is a man that is monitoring that mailbox constantly. So if you struggle with any material, any questions whatsoever, please address that to your fact2601@unisa.ac.za mailbox so that we can address those questions. All right, colleagues, just a few house rules. There will be a 30 seconds delay when you hear audio. So I will be in advance about 30 seconds due to the internet speed. All right, I will address any questions in the question and answer section after the class. So it is imperative that I get through the theory. And again, as last night, I will go and post the video under the welcome message, which is the online class 7. The video recording will be made available after the class and also added under the online class 7 section at the bottom of the welcome message of my module. You will see that there's an online class 7 leases part 2 where all the resources that I will discuss today will be available under that section. Now, colleagues, let me quickly go and show you. Under your welcome message, you will select the welcome message, and if you scroll all the way down, so that is your welcome message, you scroll all the way down, you will notice the online class 7 and all the material will be under that section. All the relevant material for online class 6, the leases part 1 that I have discussed last night, is already available. If you press on the link there, you will be able to see the video that was discussed last night. Now, colleagues, as explained, the theory is very important and you can view this video at your own time. Now, let me take you back to the slides so that we can get to the session this morning. Now, colleagues, again, the theory is very important. IFRS 16 states to you the technical queries, the technical aspects that you need to apply to a given question, and I am going to show you how to apply those technical application on given questions. It is imperative that you know your theory and apply it. And like I explained to you last night, we are moving more towards discussion type questions where you need to discuss whether and apply the definitions of IFRS 16 to a specific scenario, as we need to make sure that you can apply the theory on any given question on a theoretical basis. Now, colleagues, it's also imperative to mention that CAS, the College of Accounting Sciences, specifically financial accounting, have moved away from typing your assessments. Okay, you need to do all your assessments from now on in your own handwriting. This has been done by our COD, the chair of the Department for Financial Accounting, to curb plagiarisms. All right. So it is imperative that you need to do your assessments in your own handwriting. You need to start trying and exercising your hand, because you're going to be sitting for 2 hours to write your assessments in your own handwriting. We have been told that we cannot mark any assessment that is typed. Last year, we accepted everything that was typed, but from now on, you're going to have to do it in your own handwriting. And if you do get an assessment question where it's a discussion type of question, like I explained last night, you need to start practicing your hand, because your hand can get tired quickly, very quickly. So it is imperative that you need to do it in your own handwriting, and then use an application to scan it to a PDF and upload that assessment. Colleagues, that has been explained to you, communicated to you in all announcements, and on each and every assessment, everything is disclosed there. Now, colleagues, let's get back to the financial leases and what we have explained to you last night. As within part 1, we need to first establish at inception of a contract whether the contract contains a lease. Whether that contract contains a lease, it does mean that the lessee need to account for leases in accordance with IFRS 16 and recognize an asset, the right of use asset, and a liability, the lease liability, unless the recognition exemption applies as seen from part 1. So we first need to establish from part 1 whether a contract contains a lease, and we have shown you last night the definition, whether you've got a right of control over the asset. All right, you have got that as the lessee. You can determine how you're going to manage that asset, and not the lessor or the supplier. There is a time period that you're going to lease this asset, and then for a consideration, the value. Okay, so that you're going to pay this on a specific year, and you can direct the use. You must have control over that identified asset. If the contract contains a lease, the standard tells you that you need to recognize a right of use asset and a liability, unless that asset is of low value and the recognition exemption apply. Then only you can choose to elect the recognition exemption, and then you need to recognize that lease payments over the straight line basis based on the equalized amount, like we have explained to you last night. So you will take all the cash flow amounts and divide it by the lease term, which is your equalized amount for accounting purposes. And when there is the actual payment is greater than the equalized amount, then you will sit with a prepayment, as we've seen last night. But colleagues, really, this is to explain leases, IFRS 16, but the part 2 financial leases. Now we know that at the inception, the contract contains a lease and it is not of low value. Then, colleagues, this is where we are at. You need to recognize an asset, a right of use asset, and a liability. And there are certain aspects how you need to do that, and how you need to take into account the discount rate, and what we need to capitalize against the asset, how to work out the liability, okay, to be able to recognize the lessee's leases in terms of IFRS 16. Now, colleagues, as I've indicated to you, the lesson tool study material, page 18 to 57, explains the financial lease section. It is imperative to work through the theory on the above notes to gain a good understanding of how to deal with financial leases in terms of calculations, journals, and disclosure requirements. Now, again, I'm going to take you through an example that will classify and clearly indicate all the aspects that is listed on this slide here. And again, like I explained, will be posted under the online lesson 7 tool. Now, colleagues, here is when you've established that there is a contract at the inception of the lease, and you need to now recognize the asset and the liability. At the commencement of the lease, a lessee shall recognize a right of use asset, machinery, or any identified asset, and a lease liability, future lease installments payable in its statement of financial position. Now, how do we determine the right of use asset? Well, colleagues, to be able to determine the right of use asset, the initial recognition sits at the following. At commencement date, the lessee will recognize the right of use asset at cost. Now, how do we determine that? The cost comprises of the amount at which the lease liability is initially measured. So that will mean that we first must calculate the lease liability. How do we calculate the lease liability to be able to get the cost for the initial recognition as right of use asset? So, colleagues, so the step one is, first of all, you need to get the cost for the right of use asset. Before you can start identify the right of use asset, you need to calculate the lease liability. How do we calculate the lease liability? And again, I will show you in an example, but you will see that the theory here is important for you to note before you can actually start do the calculations. As I explained last night, the standard gives you the indication and highlights to you what you need to know. So, colleagues, how do we calculate the right of use asset? Well, it comprises of the lease liability. What is the lease liability? Initial recognition. At commencement date, the lessee will recognize the lease liability at the present value using the interest rate implicit in the lease of the lease payments not paid at that date. So, colleagues, that would tell you that there's a discount rate that will be given to you, okay? And that discount rate is the rate that you need to use to be able to calculate the lease liability. Once you've calculated the lease liability, that will form part of the cost of the right of use asset. But how do we determine the lease liability? Well, lease payments used to measure the lease liability comprises of fixed payments, including a substance fixed payment less lease incentive receivable, variable lease payments that depend on an index or a specific rate, amounts payable in terms of residual value guarantees, exercise price of the purchase option if it's not reasonable certain that the lessee will exercise that option, and penalty payments for determining that lease. Once you calculated the the lease liability using the interest rate implicit in the lease, I will also show you that you cannot use the borrowing rate, but you need to determine the interest rate implicit in the lease. Now, if you don't have the interest rate implicit in the lease, you also need to go and calculate that. And again, colleagues, I will show you that. So to be able to determine the initial recognition of the right of use asset, first of all, you need to determine the interest rate implicit in the lease. So if they have given you a borrowing rate, that is not the interest rate implicit in the lease. You need to know, step one, you need to calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. Step two, you then calculate the lease liability by using the interest rate implicit in the lease that you calculated, and then you deduct or add the description underneath here, and then once you've got that amount, that will form part of the cost. Then, colleagues, what is the interest rate implicit in the lease? An interest rate that is not explicitly stated. For example, instead of paying 100 Rand cash, a person is allowed to pay 9 Rand per month for 12 months. The interest rate is not stated but can be determined by present values. But colleagues, I will show you how to do this because the theory gives us specific things to be able to calculate the interest rate. And that is really best explained by an example. And I will show you that. All right, colleagues. So once you've got the interest rate implicit in the lease, you can calculate the lease liability using the things that's mentioned underneath. Then you get the cost of the lease liability. Then, colleagues, you will add any payments made at or before the commencement date, initial direct cost incurred by the lessee, important, an estimate of the cost that will be incurred by the lessee to dismantle or remove the underlying asset, restoring the site on which the asset is located, or restoring the underlying asset to the condition required in terms of the lease unless those costs are incurred. Okay. So, colleagues, I will show you this. This is just the theoretical aspects of how to calculate the lease. All right, colleagues. So let us continue. As I explained the interest rate, so this is just a summary of the calculation of the right of use asset. How do we get the right of use asset? Remember, at the inception, when you've established that the contract does contain a lease, the standard tells us for financial leases, the lessee must recognize a right of use asset and a lease liability. To be able to recognize the right of use asset, you must first determine the initial measurement of the lease liability. The lease liability is determined by taking into account, all right, the interest rate implicit in the lease. So before you can calculate the lease liability, you need to determine the interest rate implicit in the lease, and there are certain aspects and theoretical aspects that you need to take into consideration before you can calculate the lease liability. But I will show you that. I will show you by way of an example. Plus any lease payments made at or before the commencement date, plus any lease incentives received by the lessee, okay? Any initial direct cost incurred by the lessee, that can consist of legal fees, cost of assembly, etc. Plus any estimated of cost to be incurred by the lessee and dismantling and removing the underlying asset. Okay, colleagues, example 7, page 19 is an excellent example concerning the right of use asset. Can you see this theory is very important? This tells you what you need to add, what you need to deduct from the initial measurement of the right of use asset. Again, the right of use asset as an example will give you how to calculate, all right, the present value. So this, colleagues, this is just a simple example of how to determine the right of use asset of the above lease transaction. All right, so let's take this as a quick example. Okay, I will take you through another a comprehensive example later on. But colleagues, this is just to give you an indication of how you can calculate the present value of the lease liability that will form part of your right of use asset. Okay, so let's look at this question here quickly. All right, so Xerox Limited entered into a contract with Mustech Limited to lease a specialized label printing machine on 1st of January 2024. As explained, again, look at your dates. Okay, so this year end is 31st December 2024, and Xerox entered into a contract with Mustech. Okay, to lease a specialized contract. Okay, the contract meets the definition of a lease in terms of IFRS 16 leases. So when we state that, you need to know exactly right from the start. You need to identify the following for the journal transactions. You need to debit right of use asset and credit lease liability. That is your first step. Okay, colleagues, now that we know that we need to do that, before we can determine the right of use asset, we need to determine the lease liability. That is the very first step. And then we can add the initial payment. Then we can add the legal fees to the right of use asset. But colleagues, look now very carefully of what is happening here. They gave us the following terms of the contract. Okay, the lease term, which is 8 years. So now we know that we're going to lease this label printing machine for 8 years. The initial payment was 900,000 Rand, and that is the initial cost at the inception of the contract that you had to pay to secure the lease. So we're going to add this 900,000 later on. Okay. What is the installments payable? Colleagues, look at this. Monthly in arrears. This is monthly in arrears. That means your payment, your cash flows is on a monthly basis. Okay, very important. But now, colleagues, can you see that your lease term is for 8 years, but your cash flows takes place on a monthly basis? That means that you multiply, you need to take this years to a monthly term. Okay, because your cash flows determine what you need to do with your term and your interest rate. We'll get to the interest rate. The useful life of the printer is for 12 years. Okay, so that is the useful life of the printer. Colleagues, let's see incremental borrowing rate. Okay, that incremental borrowing rate is the interest rate implicit in the lease, unless we tell you that that interest rate is not the interest, unless we tell you that incremental borrowing rate is not the interest rate implicit in the lease. Under normal circumstances, okay, when we give you the incremental borrowing rate, you need to go and determine the interest rate implicit in lease. But in this example, we can state that this 8% is just for explanatory purposes. We know that this is now the interest rate implicit in the lease. Okay, but can you see that the percentage here is also given per annum? Okay, that means you need to take this to a monthly basis. Now, quick trick, colleagues, whatever you do to your interest rate, you need to do the opposite to your years. Okay, we need to take the 8% to a monthly basis. So what do you do? 8% divided by 12 will give you 0.0666%. So if you take on your calculator 8 divided by 12, you will get the 0.666, and that is your monthly term. So whatever you do to your interest rate, you will do the opposite to years. So 8 years times 12 is 96 months. Why do we do that? Because our cash flows is on a monthly basis, is 50,000. So it's monthly. Therefore, we're going to have to take the years to months as well as your interest rate. So now we know we need to go and calculate the lease liability. Okay, so therefore, colleagues, can you see 8 times 12 give you 96? This is your input value on your financial calculator. You must have a financial calculator to be able to determine this. Okay, monthly payments, 50,000. Why do we put a negative there? Because, colleagues, that is the cash flow that's going out of your bank account. That's why you put a negative value in front of your 50,000, because you're going to pay that. You're going to pay that on a monthly basis. That's why we use a negative value. Then I is your interest rate in your financial calculator, but we set per annum. So you need to divide that by 12 to get the interest rate in your calculator. Colleagues, I cannot explain it via your HP or the other calculator, which is your Sharp. Okay, I use a Sharp EL something 826 or whatever, and you need to source your manual on how to determine that. Okay, I don't know the HP calculator, I only know the Sharp, but you normally put in the values there as stated and consult your financial calculator. Then, colleagues, the fair value at the stage is the future value is 0, and then you can calculate the present value. You will get 3536898 if you've done it according to your calculation specifics. As I said, whatever you do to the interest rate, you do the opposite to your term. 8 divided by 12, 8 times 12 is the term, and the calculator is that. Then, colleagues, you add your initial payment is 900,000 Rand. You add your legal fees, and the right of use asset is 4461,899. But the lease liability, colleagues, is 3536898. Let me show you on the Excel sheet. Now, colleagues, On Excel, I've went and calculated that. Can you see the lease term is 8? 8 times 12. 8 times 12 is 96 years. Payment is minus 50,000, which is a cash flow. That's why it's negative. That's your payment. I is 0.08, but you need to divide that by 12 to get to 0.0066. The future value is 0, and then the present value calculation. Let me do it like here. So I say equals present value. I go and put in the rate. The rate is that section, comma, pin, 0. The end terms is that. I will put in the payment, and I will put in the future value, which is 0. I will put in the 0 at the end, and I will say calculate. And colleagues, there is the calculation. Okay, so you've got your lease term. 8 times 12 is 96. The minus 50,000, which is your payment. And colleagues, that is the calculation. Okay, present value equals the term, the interest rate, the term, the monthly cash flows, the future value, which is 0. And then at the beginning of the period, you will get your present value calculation. And that is the lease liability. And colleagues, the lease liability plus the initial payment plus the legal fees is your right of use asset. Okay, so I said the cash flows determines the input variables. So therefore, the term is annually. You need to take it to a monthly because your cash flows are done on a monthly basis. Be careful now. If we tell you no, that cash flow is yearly. If that was a yearly figure, you don't need to do anything to the years nor anywhere to the discount rate, which is 8%. Okay, colleagues, that is just a simple example to quickly show you how to use your financial calculator or via Excel. Okay, it's just a simple example to show you what you need to calculate to get the lease liability and then to determine the initial payment and the legal fees as per the standard. The standard tells us your initial measurement of the lease liability plus any lease payments made at or before the commencement date, less any lease incentives received, if there were any initial direct cost incurred by the lessee, the legal fees, cost of assembly, plus any estimated of cost to be incurred by the lessee in dismantling the cost. All right. And I explained where you can get other examples. Now, colleagues, as I explained, the measurement at present value of lease payments not paid at that date, using the interest rate implicit in the lease. This is a summary of how to calculate the lease liability. Okay, less any lease incentives receivable. Remember, this is to account for the lease liability and amounts expected to be payable by the lessee under residual value guaranteed. Exercise price of a purchase option and payments of penalties for terminating the lease. This is what the standard tells us what you need to take into consideration when you calculate the lease liability. Yet again, best explained by an example, and I'm going to show you again a lease liability example that takes everything together. Now, colleagues, this is the journal entries. Whenever you ask, we ask of you, please provide the journal entries for your financial lease. You have to recognize the right of use asset, and you recognize your credit, your bank, either or your lease liability. That's your statement of financial position. Then, colleagues, you will also take into consideration depreciation. Okay? Your depreciation and accumulated depreciation, because that identified asset, that machinery, it either can transfer to you at the end of the lease term or not. Okay, if you become the ownership of the lease asset, you're going to have to depreciate the asset over the useful life remaining. Okay, so if the asset useful life is 7 years, okay, and the term is 5 years, when the asset becomes your ownership after the lease contract, you're gonna depreciate it over the longer period, the remaining of the useful life. Okay, so that useful life is 7 years, but the term is 5 years, and it becomes your ownership. Then you're gonna depreciate out over 7 years. But be careful when the lease contract starts in the middle of the year, okay, and you need to recognize depreciation. You're going to have to take in consideration the pro rata rate, I will show you that in an example. If you do not get the ownership of the lessee, then it's shorter of the lease term and useful life. Okay, be careful about that. We will tell you whether that asset becomes the ownership. Then the lease liability measurement is debit your finance cost, debit the lease liability on a monthly basis when you need to pay your payment, that cash flow amount, credit your bank is what you're going to pay to the lessor. And then you decrease the liability and you put the finance cost through your statement of profit and loss. Or you can do it like this: debit your finance cost, credit your lease liability, debit your lease liability, credit your bank. But these are the journal entries. Remember that credit that bank if it were done in cash, otherwise there would be a liability there because you're going to pay it off on a monthly basis. Okay, colleagues, these are the lease journals. Now, if we tell you that the borrowing rate, we gave you the borrowing rate, okay, the borrowing rate of the lessee is not your interest rate implicit in the lease. If we give you a discount rate or a borrowing rate, you need to know that you need to go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease, okay? So if in the scenario, it states to you the lessee's borrowing rate is 10%, okay, and we don't state anywhere else that you can use the borrowing rate, you must go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. Then there are certain technical aspects that you need to take into consideration. Okay, that technical aspects is the following: the lease payments, the unguaranteed residual value must equal the sum of the fair value of the underlying asset and any initial direct cost of the lessor. Okay, it's very important that you calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease correctly. And I will show you by way of an example. Is calculated from the perspective of the lessor and take both the guaranteed and unguaranteed residual value into consideration. Remember, it's been taken from the lessor. So you need to take into consideration the fair value of the asset plus any initial direct cost paid by the lessor, as well as the fair value, the future value that takes into account both the guaranteed and unguaranteed residual value. I will show you this by way of an example. Okay. Now, that is the interest rate implicit in the lease. What is meant by this? The lessee's incremental borrowing rate is determined on the commencement date of the lease. As a result, it will incorporate the impact of significant economic events and other changes in circumstances arising between lease inception and commencement. Where the lessee is unable to readily determine the interest rate implicit in the lease, the discount rate will be the lessee's incremental borrowing rate. The incremental borrowing rate is an interest rate specific to the lessees that reflects the credit risk, the term of use, the nature and quality of the security, the amount borrowed, okay, by the lessee, and the economic environment in which the transaction occurs. So like I explained to you, colleagues, okay, we need to determine the interest rate implicit in the lease. Okay, if that interest rate implicit in the lease is not given to you by the borrowing rate or the discount rate, and we give you the discount rate or borrowing rate and state nothing else that this can be used as in the interest rate implicit in the lease, that words must be there, then you need to go and calculate that. The way you calculate that is by taking the payments, you take the initial direct cost of the lessor and the cost of the future value plus both the guaranteed and unguaranteed residual into consideration to be able to calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. That is important. Okay, but if we give you the discount rate and we tell you you can use the discount rate, okay, as the interest rate implicit in the lease, then it's fine. You don't need to go and calculate it. But I will show you that by an example. Now, colleagues, this is what we are after. I've just indicated to you all the theory and the journal entries, what you need to take cognizance of when you need to calculate the journals and the relevant lease liability, the right of use asset, and the interest rate implicit in the lease. But you must also be able to calculate or discuss whether the contract contains a lease. We can also give you a scenario where you need to apply the theory on a given question and tells us how you will account for it if you were to write it on a theoretical type of question. Now, colleagues, and this is important, where we will now look at a question concerning financial leases. Okay, so let's go and look at a question that was also an exam question, where we need to give you the required information, and you will need to go and discuss certain aspects of a question. Now, like I explained to you last night, okay, colleagues, before we go to the question, let me quickly go back and just see whether you can still hear me and whether you can see the slides. And as I explained, colleagues, no audio. But I don't believe that, Gladys, because I have had people that told me that they can hear me. Okay, can everyone still hear me and see the slides? Because I've been talking about 43 minutes now. Is there anyone that can just quickly tell me whether you can still hear me and see the slides? Let's just quickly see new posts. Just now, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Okay, so yes, I can see and still hear. Okay, Gladys, so that means that must be on your side. Okay, colleagues, because everyone can still hear me and see my slides. Okay, remember that the recording, that the session is recorded and will be made available afterwards. Now, colleagues, let me get back to my question. Okay, and like I explained, it is important that whenever you get a question in your assessment, you need to go and look at the required first. Okay, before you even start with the question, go and check what is required of you so that you know exactly what is expected of you. Okay, so therefore, it is important to see, okay, discuss which date will be regarded as the lease commencement date. Okay, so we need to go and check in the information what is regarded at the lease commencement date. Then you need to calculate the rate implicit in the lease at the commencement date. Then you need to calculate the value of the lease liability and the right of use asset on the lease commencement date. And then you need to prepare the journal entries to account for the lessee for the year ended 31st of December. Again, colleagues, can you see it's a well-rounded off question where we have got some theory in regards to the question. You need to calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. Now it would tell you that in the question a borrowing rate is given, but that's not the interest rate implicit in the lease. Therefore, we need to go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. And what do you know from the theory? It is calculated from the perspective of the lessor. Therefore, you will need to take into account the fair value of the asset plus initial direct cost from the lessor. And for the future value, you will take the guaranteed and the unguaranteed residual value into consideration for the interest rate implicit in the lease, because the theory tells you that. Then for the lease liability, you're going to use the interest rate implicit in the lease that you've calculated, and then you only take into consideration the guaranteed residual value, okay, to be able to calculate the lease liability. But first of all, let's go and read the information. All right, colleagues, on 30th of June 2017, Avaya entered into a lease agreement for the lease of a network server from Microsoft. Avaya's year end is December, okay, and assume that the lessor made the underlying asset available for use by the lessee on 1st of January 2018, okay? So it made it available for use by the lessee under 1st of January, but the contract of the agreement is stated is entered into the lease agreement on the 30th of June, okay? So, colleagues, according to the standard, it was only made available on the 1st of January 2018. Now, it's important to note what is the year end of this contract. So, you've got a 31st December year end, and it was 1st of January 2018. Okay, was the lease made available? Okay, colleagues, so discuss which date will be entered into regarding the commencement date, okay, of the lessee. Now, colleagues, according to the standard, the lease commencement date is the date on which the lessor makes an underlying asset available for use by the lessee. Therefore, 1st of January 2018 will be regarded as the commencement date of the lease. It's available for use at 1st of January 2018. All right. The lease term is for 5 years, and that is your lease term, which can be read is 5 years. Your useful life is 7 years, and substantially all of the economic benefits are obtained for the lease. And now, colleagues, we know that from the lessees, the underlying asset is available for use on 1st of January, and that's your very first commencement date calculation. Okay. Now they ask of us, calculate the rate implicit in the lease as at the commencement date. Okay, so we need to know from the annual installments in arrears is given to you 95,250. What is important to note here, colleagues? The payments are done for you in years. Okay, it is not necessary for you to take the term or the incremental borrowing rate and divide it by the years, because the annual borrowing rate is 14.05%. The lease term is 5 years. You do not need to go and take it to a monthly term, because the cash flows are done in arrears, but it's annual installments. So annual means that you're going to pay it yearly. That is the very first thing to note. It's not like the other example where we told you the payments, the monthly payments were done on a monthly basis. Okay, so here we work with years. Therefore, we do not need to go and calculate, okay, and multiply the years with 12 and divide the interest rate by 12, okay, because everything is done for you in years. Okay, they gave you a guaranteed residual value of 55,000 Rand, and they gave you an unguaranteed residual value of 15,000 Rand. The lease term is for 5 years. The fair value of the asset is 362. The lessee's incremental borrowing rate. Can you see, colleagues? They gave you the incremental borrowing rate, but we don't tell you that this is the interest rate implicit in the lease. We never have to tell you. Okay, if you see an incremental borrowing rate, you must know immediately. You must go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease, unless we tell you you can use the incremental borrowing rate as the interest rate implicit in the lease. But in this scenario, we want to give you, or we want you to calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease, and that is 14.5%, but we need to go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. Then the useful life of the underlying asset is for 7 years, and the lease term is 5 years. Now let's look at the additional information. Initial direct costs is 10,500 were incurred by Microsoft, the lessor, and initial direct costs of 8,500 were incurred by Avaya. These initial direct costs were paid in cash. Avaya paid a non-refundable deposit of 25,000 on 1st December to secure the lease. That is the cost that will be capitalized to your interest, to your section, okay, for the lease liability, for the right of use asset. And then Avaya accounts for right of use asset according to the cost model. That means that you're going to depreciate the asset, okay. But what will happen with ownership? Ownership of the underlying asset will not transfer to the lessee at the end of the lease term, okay. So that means, colleagues, when you need to calculate depreciation and they will not become the ownership, that will mean you will depreciate the asset over the shorter term. Okay, that would mean ownership not transfer is the lesser of the lease term and useful life, as we've seen in your slides. Okay, in your slides, the depreciation charge is the shorter of the lease term and useful life when you're not the owner. When you are becoming the owner, you will depreciate useful life over the remaining useful life remaining. Okay, so that means, colleagues, in our example, you would have, if the ownership of the is not transferred, okay, then you will depreciate by 5 years. If you do become the owner, it's over there. 7-year term is the remaining of the useful life. Okay, colleagues, so what is expected of us? we need to first, we calculated the lease commencement date, which was 1st of January 2018. But now we need to go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. As I explained, everything was done for you, okay, in years. So the cash flow is in years. Your lease term is in years. Your interest rate is 14.5%, but you cannot use the 14.5% because you need to go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. And what do? From the theory, we know that you need to take it as from the perspective of the lessor. And this is the calculation. The payment, which is a negative payment, is the annual installments, which is given, okay, 95,250. Your term is 5 years, not the useful life, but the term of the asset. The lease term is 5, okay. The present value, which is the fair value currently given to you of the asset, that is the fair value which is given to you, is 362, but you must know that it is from the perspective of the lessor. Therefore, we will have to take into consideration the initial direct cost paid by Microsoft. So colleagues, it's 362,500 plus 10,500 is the fair value at commencement date. That is the present value. The future value, what you will pay, okay, at the end of the term, is both the guaranteed and unguaranteed residual value as a negative, okay, which is 55,000 plus 15,000 gives you your 17,000 as a negative, okay, because that's a cash flow that you will pay out. Then you need to compute your interest rate, okay. So what do? We take the negative, the cash flows for the payment. The term is 5. The present value is the current fair value plus the initial direct cost from the lessor. 10,500 is the lessor's cost, the fair value at commencement date. Then the future value is the 70,000 is the guaranteed residual value and unguaranteed residual value together. That gives you 70,000, and that again you calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. Okay, this is the value now that you can use in your lease liability. Okay, what is the second thing? Calculate the value of the lease liability and right of use asset on the lease commencement date. Okay, colleagues, now once we've calculated the interest rate implicit in the lease, the 13.05%, that interest rate is what you're going to use in your lease liability. And I will show you that now. So first of all, let me get back to the question. We gave you an incremental borrowing rate of 14.05%. We've never told you that you can use the incremental borrowing rate as the interest rate implicit in the lease. But we can tell you, to confuse you, to use the incremental borrowing rate. Then you do not need to calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. But if we don't, you must know, according to the theory and the standard, you need to go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease, okay, to be able to use in your lease liability. Now, colleagues, let's go to the lease liability calculation, the measurement of the lease liability. And now you only take into consideration the guaranteed residual value from the lessee, okay? And you can see the payment is calculated is 95,250 is the cash flow amount. The term is 5 years, okay? And then you use the interest rate implicit in the lease, 13.05%, and the future value is 55,000. Is only the guaranteed residual value. Okay, and then you can calculate compute the present value, and that is the lease liability amount. Now that lease liability, as the theory states us, is the initial contract asset. Okay, that is the identified contract asset, the right of use asset. That is the start of your asset. Okay, remember what did we calculate? We need to calculate the first of all, as we've seen from our initial measurement of the lease liability, that's your step 1, plus any lease payments made at or before the commencement date. Now, colleagues, we've told you that you cannot use the initial or the borrowing rate. Nothing was stated to you that you can use the borrowing rate as the interest rate implicit in the lease. So you had to go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease according to the values. and from the perspective of the lessor. Then once you've got that interest rate, you calculate the lease liability. That becomes the initial measurement, the first cost of the right of use asset. That is according to the theory. Then, colleagues, to go back to our question, okay, now that you've got the compute the present value, that present value becomes the right of use asset, lease liability as calculated above. That is the total cost of right of use asset. 364,393 is coming from your lease liability. But hang on, what did we pay before or at the commencement date of the lease is 25,000 Rand. Now, if I have paid a non-refundable deposit of 25,000 Rand, you can capitalize that according to the cost of the right of use asset. 25,000 Rand. What was the initial direct cost paid by the lessee? 8,500. Can you see there's the 8,500 as paid by Avaya? Okay, and then you add that. Now, colleagues, you've got the total cost of the right of use asset at 397,893. Okay, so what did we do? We first had to calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease because we were only given the incremental borrowing rate. Okay, when we tell you you can use the incremental borrowing rate as the interest rate implicit in the lease, you do not need to go and calculate it. But in this scenario, we gave you the incremental borrowing rate and we never told you you can use it. So therefore, you need to calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease, and that is what we've done on the solution. You had to go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease from the perspective of the lessor. This is the theory. We are applying the theory to the question, okay? And this is how you will do it. Then once you've got the interest rate implicit in the lease, you must use that interest rate implicit in the lease to calculate the measurement of the lease liability. And that from the perspective of the lessee. Okay, that's why you only take the guaranteed residual value into consideration as your future value. That is the 55,000 bucks, the guaranteed value. Once you've got the lease liability amount, you will use the lease liability amount as your initial cost of the right of use asset. But then there are other costs that the lessee made and that you can capitalize. A deposit as well as the initial direct cost, and that is your right of use asset. And now, colleagues, we can do the journal entries. So what does the right of use asset consist of? That consists of 397,893, which you get from the right of use asset. Okay, the lease liability, which is 364,393. We've paid 25,000 Rand and 8,500. That was a prepaid expense, and the bank amount. And that, colleagues, if you add that up, you will get to the 397 as at that date, the 1st of January 2018. Now, once you're going to make a payment at the end of the term, what is the payment? The bank, credit your bank of 95,000, and it consists of your interest. How do we determine the interest? Well, it's this 364,393 times 13.5%, or your first period of amortization, which is your finance cost. You apply the interest rate implicit in the lease against the lease liability for the payment, and the difference between that is your capital portion that you decreased your lease liability. So that lease liability is now decreased with your capital portion, and the interest is capitalized, the finance cost, okay, which will go through your income statement. Now, colleagues, accounting for finance costs for the year as well as the lease payments made on at year end. Because we know that the ownership of the underlying asset will not transfer, the depreciation that you are going to recognize is the lesser of the lease term and useful life. Therefore, colleagues, that 397, which is the right of use asset, you're going to divide it by 5, which is the lesser of the lease term, 5 years and 7 years. If you did become the ownership, you had to depreciate it over 7 years. But because you do not become the owner of the asset after the lease term, colleagues, you're going to have to divide by 5. Okay, and that is your depreciation charge for the year, 79,578. How do we get the 79,578? Well, it is the right of use asset with all the capitalization that we've done divided by the term, which is the lease term, the shorter of the two, okay, of 5 years and 7 years, and that is your lease term. Remember, in this scenario, If you, for example, the underlying asset was made available in 1st of or 30th of June 2018, then you had to go and proportion it. Then you would have multiplied, divided by 5 times 6 over 12. Again, using the proportionate rate. But in this instance, okay, the underlying asset was made available at the beginning of the year. You've got a 31st December year end, okay, and therefore you can just straightly divide it by 5. And that is your ownership that is transferred. And colleagues, that is basically part 2, financial leases. Okay, this is financial leases. The slides I gave you explain to you the theory. How do you recognize the lease liability, the right of use asset? When we gave you the interest rate or the incremental borrowing rate, and we don't tell you that you can use the incremental borrowing rate, you need to go and determine the interest rate implicit in the lease. Okay, you need to determine the interest rate implicit in the lease, then you can calculate the lease liability, and then you can calculate the right of use asset for the entries. Okay, I've given you and shown you when to use your years when cash flows are done monthly. You will take the term to a monthly basis as well as your interest rate. Whatever you do to your interest rate, you do the opposite to your term. And then you can calculate the present value of the lease liability. You add the costs to get the right of use asset. Okay, this is just to show you how to deal with your calculations in your calculator. I've given you the lease liability, colleagues, how to calculate that. I've shown you the journal entries on subsequent measurement. I've shown you the interest rate implicit in the lease and what is determined when used the interest rate implicit in the lease from the perspective of the lessor. And we've discussed the question. And colleagues, it's very important for your assessment. Okay, read your required first. See what is expected of you. Okay, do a lot of practical questions. Go to your lesson tool 7. Watch your time management, especially now that you need to write in your own handwriting, okay, your assessment, and then upload it to your CAS My Exam site. And then there are other relevant sections. Colleagues, let me quickly take you to the My Module site, okay, before we close off. On the 17th of April, you need to take your module site, okay? You can take on assessment 2. You click on the link, and this CAS My Exam site will take you directly, okay, to the CAS My Exam section, okay? And this site will not be available for you now, but it will open up at 12:45. Okay, then underneath here, you will get your assessment. You must download it, and then you must realize to do the application, the Invigilator app, within the very first 30 minutes of your assessment. And colleagues, this will close at exactly 15:30. You must do your writing. There's 15 minutes download time and 30 minutes upload time, and you've got 2 hours to physically write your assessment. Then you must upload it again within the period, 15:30 again. You can do multiple uploads if you struggled, okay, but it will only accept one assessment for that attempt. And colleagues, this is where you will access your assessment too. Remember, it is not available for you now as you've not got access currently, and you will only be able to get that at a later stage. Okay, colleagues, just for that, that is really my session for today. And I will quickly look at some posts, and I wish you all the best. How did we get? Let me quickly look at some questions here. How did we get 13.05%? Because I see only 14.05%. Let me quickly take you back to the slides, colleagues, or to the question. That is where we've calculated the 14.5%. Now, it seems like you haven't been here from the start of the session, and quickly to show you, the 14.05% is the incremental borrowing rate. But as I explained, you cannot use that rate. You must determine the incremental borrowing rate. Okay, the interest rate implicit in the lease. We've given you the incremental borrowing rate, but that's not the lessee's interest rate implicit in the lease. Okay, if we give you the incremental borrowing rate and we tell you you can use it as the interest rate implicit in the lease, you can. But if we don't tell you, you must go and calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. How do we calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease? Well, you take the payment as a cash flow amount. That is a negative payment, okay, because it's going physically out of your bank account. The N is 5 years. Okay, you do not need to take it to a yearly or a monthly figure, because the payments are done annually in arrears. It's an annual payment. Therefore, you do not need to do anything to your term. The present value is taking it from the perspective of the lessor. So it is 362, which is the fair value of the underlying asset, plus the initial direct cost of the lessor. That is 362 plus 10,500 is the present value. That is the current, the fair value of the asset. Then the future value takes into consideration 55,000 plus 15,000, as the standard tells us that you need to take both the guaranteed and unguaranteed residual value into consideration as your future value. And that is a negative amount because that's what you will pay at the end of the lease term. Okay, that is a cash flow. Then you compute on your financial calculator the 13.05%. Like I explained, you need to consult your own manual for your calculator. I'm not going to go through that, colleagues. That's easy. You need to go and consult your own financial calculator manual to determine how do you calculate the interest rate implicit in the lease. Colleagues, and that really is how you determine your interest rate. It's part 2 of financial leases. And colleagues, I will go and show you, I will go and post this video under online session. And that's really my story. Hope it was insightful and you've learned a few things, and it cleared up some questions that you've had. And colleagues, really honestly, I hope you all of the best, and I wish you well for the upcoming exam and assessment. Remember, the 17th of April is an assessment that you need to take. If you can't make the assessment, you are either sick or you've got an employer's letter. You need to send that to the MAC FAC 2601 mailbox, and you not need to attempt the assessment before you can write the elective assessment. It will not be open for everyone. If you were to miss the assessment due to network error issues, or you had an attempt, you must provide a medical certificate as well as or an employer's letter before you can write the elective assessment on the 24th. Colleagues, let me quickly look at some questions, and I will answer it in the chat. And then I wish you all the best of luck, and good luck over the weekend as well as during the course of next week. I thank you. Colleagues, my last question is that 45 minutes of download and upload. No, it's not. On this anonymous user, it's not included. You've got 15 minutes download time, and then you've got 2 hours to write your exam, and then an additional 30 minutes to upload your assessment. So that 45 minutes is not included in your 2 hours time. Okay, so you do not need to do that. The Invigilator app is on my phone, and I would need to use my phone to take pictures of my answer sheet, which I'll then convert to PDF collate into one document. Would you be penalized due to the fact that I'll be using my phone? Colleagues, I cannot answer that. You need to go and study the Invigilator app student user guide. Okay, I cannot answer that because I've never used the Invigilator app. I cannot tell you whether you can use your phone. Please contact the WhatsApp call center on the Invigilator app student user guide that was already made available to you. Thank you, colleagues. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Yes, no, that is not like I explained that. Where do we upload the assignment? Well, where you on the CAS My Exam site. Where you get the assessment, you will upload it again on the CAS My Exam site. Okay, colleagues, let me see. We've answered that. Okay, all right, colleagues. On the assessment on the CAS My Exam site, That is it. And that is my story. I will, like I explained, I will get the video and I will make it available for you under the online session 7. Colleagues, wish you all the best of luck and goodbye.